For most women, attracting a man isn't the problem, especially if you're an attractive woman. However, there are plenty of attractive women out here who are struggling to keep a man for themselves. And a lot of the time, it's not because he's not attracted to you enough, but maybe you're just focusing your effort and energy into not quite the right areas. And we're gonna fix that right now. Real quick, before we get into that, I am having one-to-one sessions, so if you're ready to level up your dating life, just click the link below. So, a lot of the reason why we choose to invest in someone long term is because we feel good around them and they contribute to our happiness. Not that they're the source of our happiness, because that isn't healthy, but they definitely are an addition to our happiness. So when it comes to adding to a man's life, of course we have to remember that no two people are the same. So the formula that you would have to make your man happy may be different to the formula you have for your friend's happiness, for example. And of course, the best way to do this is just to get to know him, get to know what his interests are, get to know what his values are, get to know what his principles are, and be open to be making an effort in different ways with him, especially when you recognize that certain values resonate with him. So first, communication is key. It is true that for many men, they do keep their thoughts and feelings close to their chest. And mainly the reason is because for a guy to be vulnerable with a woman in that sense and really open up to her, it takes a lot of trust. Now you may be thinking to yourself, okay, well, I do it really well naturally with my friends and to even guys I don't know that well, so why can't he do the same? But we have to recognize there aren't a lot of spaces for men to open up without being chastised in some way if they say something that someone else disagrees with. Sometimes people see a group of men getting together, they immediately think, oh, there's something toxic going on there. Or worse, a guy may have had experience where he did open up to a girl and then it was used against him later down the line. So you are going to have to exercise a certain level of patience with a guy in order for this to happen. It may take some time, but that's okay. The issue is when he feels that he can't voice his needs to you, because then it will be hard for you to fulfill the things you may want to do for him. By just being his support and communicating regularly that you're there for him, eventually you're gonna see that armor start to open up. The second thing is having respect for him. Now don't get me wrong, respect is a two-way street, right? But I know what I'm about to say sounds weird, but respect is arguably more important to a man than love within a relationship. In fact, respect is how you show that you love a man. In his eyes, it's one of the key cornerstones for a relationship to be successful, and a significant part of making a man feel happy with you. Have respect for your man's opinions and thoughts, and even when you don't agree with him, still stand by him. You know, unless what he disagrees with is something that's a deal breaker for you. And always be sure to give him the space to make his own decisions. And unless it's urgent, you don't need to rush him on it. It's funny because people can sometimes treat their work colleagues or even their boss with more courtesy and respect than the person that they're going to potentially spend the rest of their lives with. And to put it in perspective, which would you rather keep? Your job at the company that would likely just replace you tomorrow without a second thought, or the potential best father you would want for your future children? If this guy is potentially that person for you, then this is definitely an area to be mindful of. Third thing, showing your appreciation for him. This only ever works in your favor because men want to do things for women. We want to serve you in ways that make you happy. And part of the inspiration for us wanting to do those things for you is the gratitude and appreciation that comes along with it. Think of it as filling up the tank of a car. Every time you show some gratitude or appreciation, you are just filling up that tank. And the more you top up, the further he'll go to please you. See how that serves you? And the thing is, guys don't really need much for show of appreciation. Yeah, you can show your love through regular date nights, little gifts, or small acts of kindness. Those are gonna take you a long way. But even just a simple hug or a kiss with a thank you is a way of showing him that you're thinking about him and that you care. The fourth thing, offer support, but if he declines, then leave it alone. While it is, of course, important for you to support your man any way you can, it's also okay to allow him to be a reliable source of support for himself. Part of the genius of femininity is recognizing where and when to pour into. Where and when to apply pressure and then when to leave it. It's like when treating a cut. When the cut has just happened, that's when you apply pressure to stop the bleeding and it allows the vessels to start clotting. Then you have to disinfect it with some kind of nurturing cream. And then after that, you allow it some oxygen, you expose it to the air because that's the fastest way it's going to heal. Applying this to your relationship that you're building with a man is going to help make massive strides into him trusting you and in him being vulnerable with you. You don't need to feel that you have to try and fix everything. You want to avoid smothering him. Sometimes he just needs some room and some space to pursue his own interests. But not just that. Also good to give him the space and the opportunity to prove himself to himself. In the words of Alex Hormozy, confidence isn't about yelling affirmations at yourself in the mirror, but about having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. And there are some rites of passage about being a man, about developing some strong foundation into manhood that he has to take himself. He has to do it on his own. So don't feel that it's a rejection of you, but an opportunity of growth and character for him. And the fifth thing, if you really want to make your man happy, is to accept him for who he is. Yep, flaws and all. Allow him to be true to himself, even if that's not what you want or even what you expect. Acknowledge him for who he is instead of expecting him to meet a certain standard or ideal, because this will create a safe and comfortable space for both of you to grow together. Often there's a paradox in some relationships when it comes to men and women. Women get into a relationship expecting the man to change in certain areas, and men get into relationships expecting the woman to never change. And they're both wrong. When we choose someone, we have to accept them for who they are in their entirety. And that doesn't mean that we have to like everything about them. But by choosing them, we are saying, I accept you and all of you. But equally, we have to accept the flexibility that they may change. But a lot of the time when it comes to men, true love is accepting them for who they are, despite them not being perfect. Now don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that you should tolerate bad behavior or even worse, abuse. But there's a difference between toxicity and a personality trait. So always ask yourself, when something comes up with him that maybe you're not the biggest fan of, always ask yourself, is this a deal breaker? And if it's not, and it's not damaging the relationship, then this is something that maybe you just need to learn to accept that's who he is. And if it is a deal breaker, then that's not the man for you. If you're looking for a guy who sparks up your love life, make sure you subscribe to this wonderful tribe. And as always, keep it slick.